conferencia en inglés, pero primero agradezco mucho la invitación otra vez en este país, me gusta mucho. Y después, el secreto de mi nombre en finlandés, en castellano es Cornejo. Pero voy a cambiar en inglés, por favor, perdóname, pero es por razón de democracia, para otros participantes vamos a usar inglés. So thank you very much.
I will give my presentation in English. I have prepared slides that I'm not using. All of them I will just explain you while it's being opened by somebody. It doesn't seem to open myself. Oh yeah, it comes here. So I took literally the invitation on more or less on this formal side of policy and curricula. Not that it would be most important, but because I was given the role of what do we do in the formal education on the European level. I know that education in a formal sense is most boring. I never know why I ended to be a chair in education. It's not the most fascinating field in the beginning, but at the end, everything is education if you take a more humanistic and broader communication view. I want to reflect yesterday, Marco Riccieri said very well that media education should, in one word, is in public service. So this is a good definition. We are dealing with public service activities. The study that Jose Manuel Perez Tornero and myself included were involved some 2 years ago gives a good approach to what media education is. You remember the 3 pillars: active citizenship, critical thinking, and media education. 10 years, when European Commission started this field activities, I was invited to speak there. We already then discussed, at least I raised these issues, that when we speak about media education, we do not, who is a legitimate source to evaluate? And when can we see that somebody is competent or somebody is literate, media literate? And what should we evaluate? Is it knowledge, is it skill, is it behavior or values or what? So these issues have been known for decades. And the study that we just finished, again, I'm not talking about it, but I just refer to Paulo Selot and Jose Manuel, and I was involved in this study, gives a good answer, will be published by the European Commission. But I go back 10 years. I was invited by Maruja Gutierrez Diaz. She is a Spanish from Malaga, and excellent functionary of the European Commission. She invited me to speak 2000 about this topic in the Commission. And I found when I go back 10 years of our work, I found that actually we did very good beginning, already in the beginning, very good, we were very well aware of what we are talking about. So it was about as much of critique of the media as also about skills that we would like to promote. So this was, we were aware, but if you go to our most recent study, the study that of the assessment that EAVI coordinated, in the response by member state institutions that we got, particularly from UK, they told very clearly that even though media literacy, we understand it's an objective. This is the goal of media education. But there's not a single agreed definition of it. We have found it very difficult to translate media literacy in other languages. Even though we translate alphabetisation or alphabetisierung in German or whatever we have, it's being used, but if you ask anybody in the field of traditional education, they don't understand what we're talking about. I don't mind. I mean, that we teach them, and they learn to know through the work and the real life experience. Basically, it's kind of umbrella where we have different skills, knowledge, understanding, and so forth. But we had to also to ask very clearly, can we teach? Is it a teachable thing? Are we talking of something that you learn by other means? And if it's teachable, if it can be taught at school, formal institutions, under what discipline? Mother tongue, art, history, or what? and what elements should be there and how to evaluate. So all teachers, educators have to answer this question. And the goal, of course, we have to be very clear. What is the aim? If we want to have people who are media literate, what should be the characteristics of these people? So yesterday we spoke about, somebody raised the issue, what about traditional media? So in our approach in the European Commission expert group, we do not separate traditional from new media. We speak about all media. Even though the young people, their reading habit is not linear, it's associative. So they read differently. As a matter of fact, in a modern media environment, you do not necessarily have a beginning and ending like you have in old textbooks. You can even start from the end and go backwards and still have a meaningful presentation. So thinking procedure is changing. But this is not new. 50 years we have known. Walter Ong, already one of the classics in rhetoric, said that even though all media carry information, they also change the way we construct our memory and our thinking. So it matters what media you are using, for what purpose. And this we are not very clear whether it should be a computer type of screen or should be a linear type of traditional media and for what purpose. So we are studying on these things. But anyway, it is a goal accepted, and the question is has been very much what about schools, children under 12, and then what about other age levels? My role nowadays is very much on the working life of people for vocational education, professional education. What do we need to be able to be employed in a modern knowledge society? The applications for teaching are also very radical. We have to change very much the way approaching teaching. It is no more hierarchical in classroom as it used to be. So the teacher learn from learners. We are all learners. It's learner-centered approach. It's very different in thinking, in teacher education, equally applicable to university level. Even you are a chair, you are also authority, but you still are a learner with your students. And there are different new ways of learning using media environment. This is a paradigmatic change still taking place. Very briefly, to introduce the theme in the next 10 minutes that I have still, I want to reflect very briefly on our work in the European Commission and maybe UNESCO. I don't have time for both of them, so I concentrate on European Union, European Commission work. There have been two different approaches. One has been more or less emphasizing the e-learning and technology, and the digital industry has pushed this, what they call, and we call, digital literacy, which has been mainly on e-skills and kind of competencies needed for information society, as it's called in the official documents. The media literacy that we have accepted as an umbrella, let's say that it's larger. It started with the image education. It started with the application of media education. It's an expert group still working and continuing its work. And it brings more the culture, cinema, and all cultural traditions, European diversity, into the discussion, while digital literacy was more technology-centered. The problem is that when we work with the European Union or Commission, they have a set of goals that are given to us, like the more competitive knowledge economy and more inclusive knowledge society. These are given goals that we should be supporting, of creating means of how do we create a competitive knowledge economy. And it's believed that media literacy is an essential part of it. In UNESCO, which I have to leave now without taking too much because it has been already, Vladimir Guy has been very well introducing UNESCO work, I would only add this one dimension that I'm personally involved is the open educational resources. It's an activity that more and more learning material are available, accessible through open resources, and this is a concept that becomes in the educational field connected with media literacy, because you have to be media literate in order to use them properly, and the cultural diversity. I don't take the Alliance of Civilization either, which is United Nations initiative in this field, combining UNESCO and media literacy activities. I show very briefly what we do, or what we have been doing in Finland on the highest level. So we try to, and by this I mean that our collective thinking is that we try to see this media literacy and the cultural civilizational demand under global education. So we are looking for a citizenship that is beyond the national frames, which would include the cultural dialogue, civilizational dialogue. And as a concept, we have developed certain characteristics which, for example, emphasize the ethic of a world citizen, which would include fairness and respect of human rights and so forth. But also the media, if you look at the bottom, if you look at the second part of it, growth into a critical and media critical citizen with the knowledge and skills to successfully act as a member of one's own community and the globalizing world. So this is not my personal statement. This is a government document which we have been able to institutionalize successfully in our educational system. In the European context, very briefly, digital competence is one of the key competencies listed by the European goals. And I think this gives a good base, even though it says here digital competence. We could say use media competence, but again, how do you translate these words into other languages? So let's not be dogmatically looking at this or that word. Let's look at the contents. If it is the critical use of media for work, leisure and communication, it's acceptable whatever language we are thinking in. And I've listed here, I'm not going to read them, I'm listed where do we and why do we need them. And let me briefly summarize, because our time is short, in the sense that I have listed a long list of activities. Why do we end at where we are? Yesterday, Marco Riqueri spoke about the knowledge society. But I'm saying that even if you are in industry, in technology, because I'm working much with the technology, one of the big telecommunication companies, which you know without me mentioning the name, when it comes from Finland, but it is very much supporting research in this field, but they are also interested in culture. Now everybody realizes on the top level that in knowledge society, if you want to have innovations, you must go to art and culture. So mere engineering is no more enough for the top level research and development. And we are here, how do we build this trust and confidence with working with others on European level, on a global level? This is the main function, main task for us to work, creating trust and confidence with a new technological world. So these are summaries of our work. I'm not reading them. I'm just showing you we have done this kind of recommendations, and there's a ministerial work on the level of European ministers in Vienna. And again, from my country and our own work where I'm involved, just to conclude in 2 more slides, this is the work we see media literacy in the Finnish context. A small country with this particular language and particular achievements in education anyway. That we start with motivation and we go upstairs. We are not ready with these ladders or but we think this way, that we aim at this ethical and value level. Somehow we want to develop this level. How to do it is a matter of hard work. And what we concluded in European level was that this is what media literacy is about. It is critical, it is creative, and it's also something to do with culture. And this is, yesterday, already Jose Manuel had this presentations by American Henry Jenkins in the MacArthur Foundation. I just go quickly through that. They have identified where the problems in global level are. And this is my very last slide. I think this way, and I'm very strong on this. I have been working in many fields of science and art, not being an artist, not being a scientist, but I'm a communicator and I'm an educator anyway. So I think that the complexity, when you study more the complexity of the world, you understand that after all science is very close to art, which Einstein and many others realized a long time ago. But in school systems we don't realize this. We have fragmented knowledge and we teach still in a traditional way. It's not necessarily good to be a specialist in the old sense. Perhaps it's better to be not very good in something, but good in many things. It's a change of thinking. The world changes rapidly, and you have to do 4 or 5 times a new job in your life. Be good in many things. What it means for education. And anyway, my claim is that art deals with the sensual world, spiritual world, holistic concept of man, human being. Sorry, not man, but human being. Man, again, language bound. In my language, there's no difference between she and he. We have only one word. So I'm sorry for the English language, but it's the English language problem, not my problem. So art and communication and science go together. So thank you very much. I think it is 9.5 minutes.
Muchas gracias, Taji. Quiero dar las gracias también a los directivos de EAVI por esta invitación y efectivamente voy a tratar de exponer el caso concreto de las actividades de Fundación Telefónica en relación con esta materia, pero bueno, previamente me voy a permitir hacer alguna referencia, algunos datos concretos que están teniendo, de lo que podemos estar de algunas actividades que se están celebrando en estos momentos. Ya se ha hablado aquí, se ha hecho una introducción conceptual, vamos, totalmente de acuerdo. Desde la perspectiva tradicional se podía abordar este tema desde decir, la educación a través de los medios o la educación en los medios. Creo que en resumidas cuentas es lo mismo y en la práctica van unidos estos dos planos. Se ha citado la alfabetización digital, pero a mí me gustaría en este tema considerar que la actividad de alfabetización digital hoy día ya no corresponde evidentemente únicamente a los ámbitos educativos, sino que también, ya se ha citado, además aquí se ha avanzado, al núcleo familiar, las asociaciones, entre otras como esta, los poderes públicos, por supuesto, que hemos tenido un representante que nos ha explicado muy bien que los planes del Ministerio español, las empresas privadas, pues de alguna manera expondré alguno de las experiencias que está llevando a cabo una empresa privada. En los medios de comunicación, que en este momento a lo mejor están agazapados, se les supone que tiene una función pedagógica que la han tenido toda la vida, pero en este momento tienen otros problemas quizá mucho más fuertes y no se dedican a reflexionar sobre este tema. Y yo creo que los propios ciudadanos, porque ahora se ha trasladado, se está trasladando esta función de pedagogía, sobre todo en la era digital, de los jóvenes, de los usuarios que están aprendiendo, que están viviendo esa experiencia y nos las trasladan a el resto de la sociedad y sobre todo a las personas mayores. Quería dar unos datos sobre dos estudios que en estos momentos, ya digo, están de actualidad en España. Uno porque se presentó en esta misma semana y otros creo que se está presentando ahora mismo. En dos en dos vías de investigación. Una, qué hacen los profesores y los alumnos, o qué pueden hacer los profesores y los alumnos en relación con este tema. Otra, las generaciones, las llamadas generaciones digitales. Y siento en este sentido pisar un poco el terreno a Lorenzo Vilches y a la mesa redonda que viene a continuación, pero es que la investigación que se está haciendo ahora básicamente es sobre las nuevas generaciones y su acceso a todo lo que son las actividades de la alfabetización digital. Pues bien, en estos dos proyectos, o estos dos que han acabado en un libro, uno de ellos, el de las generaciones digitales, de las nuevas pantallas, es decir, la del ordenador, el móvil, el videojuego y la televisión, por supuesto, lo ha hecho un equipo de la Universidad de Navarra, y el otro de la integración de Internet en la educación escolar española, lo ha hecho un equipo de la Universidad Oberta de Cataluña. Los dos han sido promovidos por Fundación Telefónica. Del primero solo unas pinceladas, unas pequeñas pinceladas. En relación con las generaciones interactivas, están equipadas prácticamente desde los 6 años. Tienen el mismo equipamiento. Hay unas diferencias, según se pueden observar en esa pirámide. Lo siento que no se vean muy bien los receptores, los aparatos receptores, pero básicamente son muy parecidos. Y esto es muy probable que utilicen, claro, todo lo que tienen en sus casas, que son compartidos. Luego veremos que algunos de ellos consumen la nueva comunicación, la consumen de forma solitaria casi, pero tienen muchos aparatos receptores que los comparten, evidentemente. Que también observamos, según este primer estudio, que Internet es la pantalla más querida tanto por especialmente, claro, por los jóvenes de 10 a 18 años, pero también entre los 6 y los 9 años tienen también su afición a Internet, aunque en esa edad se aficionan más o ven más la televisión, la pantalla grande.